looking at those, the first one, I think the reason that people miss it the most is there's a lot going on. So as I've said, like line of great divide keeps you on the right side versus keeps you on the left side. And then after that, I think is because you have a fraction. Please remember that multiplying by 1/2, so multiplying by 1/2 is the exact same as dividing by 2. Because usually if I ask you to divide by 2, you have no problem. If I ask you to multiply by 1/2, a lot of you don't have like a big problem, but you slow down. And there's no real reason because it's the exact same thing. So we're going to distribute this 1/2 times 6. So what's 6 divided by 2? You can type in the box or you can holler out. Yeah, perfect. So we have 3, okay? And then 1/2 times a negative 12. I'm sorry, a negative 24 is going to give us a negative 12 now that I gave you the answer. So this side is now cleaned up. If this was inactive, you could theoretically do this inactive at that rate too. Again, if you remember 1/2 is the same as dividing by 2. Negative 8, I have seen a lot of people, that would be another place we kind of mess up, is we lose that negative because we don't like it. We ignore it. So negative 8 times k is going to give us a negative 8k. What's a negative 8 times a negative 1? Yep, positive 8. That's the end of those parentheses, so negative 8 stops moving. We're going to move on to our 11, new set of parentheses. So we're going to distribute 11 times k is going to give me 11k, and 11 times 4 is going to give us 44. Now, this is the reason of the line of great divide, because I'm sure many times you guys kind of roll your eyes at me. There's a lot of math going on either side, and you will force things to look the way you want them to look, just because human nature. So we know we need to clean up this side, combine like terms first. You can move them individually. 9 out of 10 times when I watch students do that, though, you make an oops along the way. Like if I ask why you did it, you realize it's a mistake. So I would minimize the number of times things are crossing the equal marks. And when it's on the same side, like I said, it's just combining the like terms. So I have 11k minus 8k, or a negative 8k plus 11. And that's going to give us what? What's 11k minus 8k? Yep, 3k. And then I have that plus 8 and plus 44. Perfect. So it's going to be a positive 52. So now that side's cleaned up, and everything on the other side is just hanging out waiting for us to do things. At this point, we have to decide, we have to get our variables to one side and our whole numbers to the other side. Which side you choose to do that is completely up to you. Hopefully some of you already see it, that we have a 3k and a 3k, and that's going to make a mess. So minus 3k, minus 3k, these go away, and this goes away. Ultimately, that means we now have a negative 12 equals 52. That's not a thing, so it's no solution. There is no value that I can plug in for k that will work for this equation. The other way you can look at that, if you get confused between no solution and infinite number of solutions, which you should have done before now. If not, shoot me a text or an email or type in the chat box, and I'll make sure to throw more of these out there along the way for review. The difference is negative 3 and positive 3 gives us a 0k. And if we went ahead and added that 12 over, we would end up with 64. And you would have to divide by 0. You can never divide by 0. That's a big no. The infinite number solutions mean both sides match. So they're exactly the same. So if this was plus 52 and plus 52, they're exactly the same. So it's going to be 0k equals 0. So they wash each other out. That means all numbers would work. So all real numbers. All right, which sentence represents the equation 3x minus 5 equals 4? So 3 times a number. A number is always your x. So 3 times a number is 5 less than 14. Less than makes that 5 jump behind the 14. And is equal to. So we have equal to, and 5 less than 14 is 14 minus 5, because 5 less than 14 would be 9. So that's close, but no dice. 5 less than, so less than, that means that 5 moves to the end, so it's going to be something minus 5. then 3 times a number, so that's at 3x, is 14. Looking good, but let's check the next ones, right? Just because we want to make sure we get used to them, because in case they ask it in a different way. 3 times a number, so that's 3x, less than, which means that moves to the other side of that 5. So 5 minus 3 times the number is 14. I would say that's a close one. I wouldn't say you're far off if you got C. Not correct in any way, shape, or form. But you're getting there. It's just that less than mistake. And then letter D is 3 times 5 less than a number is 14. So remember, 5 times less than means it's on the other side of the less than a number. Not 5 minus a number would be 5 minus x, or 5 subtract a number. I can't think of other words right now that they would use, but definitely B. Does anybody have any pressing questions about number 1 or number 2, other than I'm going to go through what percentage of scores were above 75? So first of all, you want to identify 75. These are counting by 10. So 45, 55, 65, 75. That's our median, or we could call it Q2. Remember, no matter what all these look like, this is 25, 25, 25, 25. Above, yep, nailed it, Zoe. Above 75 is 50%. And I cannot get it through. It'll take you a little while. That 25, 25, 25, 25, you will talk yourself out of it because they don't look equal. They're not proportionate. But remember, this is based off just a list of numbers, not necessarily the proportions of the numbers, like as far as sizing. It's just a random list of class scores. 50% of this class scored above 75. The max score was 90. The min score was 50. Of the lower half, the median score would be 60. Of the upper half, the median score would be 80, which is that Q1 and Q3. Just again, discussing the different ways they could ask different questions, but asking for the same thing. So min, Q1, median is Q2, Q3, and then max. What inverse operation will solve this equation? So again, line of great divide. This guy's in parentheses. That's awesome. So the first thing you want to do is add 22.5. And this is with a calculator, so you could solve it, but we want to make sure that's not really even what it's asking. So you're looking for the ones that say add first. So A and D are out. If that is all you can do, do it, because test skill, that means now you have a 50-50 shot at guessing. If you just blind guess, you have a 25% chance of getting it right. 50 is way better. And then, yep, so we have x over 2 equals 134.5. That's x divided by 2. The inverse of division is going to be that multiplication. Great job, Zoe. And so it's going to be x equals, so it's going to be add, then multiply. Beautiful, beautiful. One of the questions from inactive that almost everybody missed, and I think it's just that word problem game that we have a problem with. Select the equation that best describes the following. 2 more than a number is equal to 6. 2 more than a number is equal to 6. So equal to 6, this one is definitely no good because that's equal to 2. So now again, good, awesome. Again, now if that's all you can mark out, it's still great. Do it, because that means instead of a 25% chance, you have a 33.333 repeating chance of guessing correctly. So 2 more than is addition. So at that rate, you could basically get rid of this one because there's no addition. Now you have a 50-50 shot. And I don't know exactly why you might choose the last one, but some of us did. Our answer would be B, or 2 plus x equals 6, like you guys are typing in the chat box. So great job. Okay, so I have more of these pulled for Monday. Some more of the more popular missed questions. But again, just going over things and calling those out. If you didn't miss them, awesome. It was just like the class, the most in the class. All right, inequalities. Woohoo! So if you're strong at solving equations, the only thing you have to add to your repertoire would be the golden rule of inequalities. If you divide or multiply, only divide or multiply by a negative, only divide or multiply, then you have to flip the sign. That is usually the biggest mistake, most common mistake of anyone once they get here. Because a lot of you are really great at solving equations, which you've been doing it for a minute, so that's awesome. But it's that golden rule of inequality that changes it. So if I divide or multiply, only divide or multiply. I know I just said it, but I'm saying it again. Divide or multiply only by a negative, then we're going to flip our sign. Then a lot of people still have a little bit of some issues with when the variable is on the right side instead of the left, because I think basically in 8th grade, they only gave you variable on the left. That's really kind and beautiful of them. That's not the reality. Cool part is if this is calculator active, you don't have to think. Use desmos, okay? So we're going to work it as if we have no calculator, because there is a chance there's one on the inactive section. But as I've told you before, that is a small chunk of your test. It like relative to percentage wise. So don't over panic there. So in the event it is calculator active, there's no chance you should miss this bad boy, okay? So first of all, we need to practice. This is, again, the line of great divide and all that. Keep neat, go slow, don't mess up. Don't get distracted. I'm going to change my B to an X. As I've said before, my B's, when I write them, definitely easily look like 6s. So students have told me that I'm tired of fighting it, because the more I try, the uglier they get. So line of great divide. What am I going to do first? Just disregard this as an inequality. Think equations. What would I do first? Yep, perfect. So 5 times a negative 6 is going to give me that negative 30x. 5 times 2. Please notice that I'm drawing an arrow and then putting a number. Again, small change in my actions, but it holds you accountable. It keeps you where you are. If the dog barks or your mom calls you and you're halfway through and you only have one arrow, then you know where to go next. It kind of just holds you where you are in case your brain hiccups like mine. Now we have our stinky kid, which is our negative 30x. Somebody other than Zoe, because Zoe's killing it. Somebody type in the chat box or tell me, what am I going to do next? Yes, thank you. Subtract 10. Subtract 10. Why did I subtract, Zane? But why did I not multiply or divide or any of those fun things? Good, 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 good. Thank you. So negative 210. Now, what am I going to do next? What kind of 30? I'm going to ask it again, not to pick on you just because this is how obnoxious I am. What kind of 30? And hopefully you're saying it in your head and you're asking why I keep repeating myself. Negative, negative, negative. Negative 30. Ding, ding, ding. Fireworks, flags, sirens should go off. That's a problem. That's where we end up having to use our golden rule of inequalities. So because I divided by 30, negative 30, we're going to end up with a positive 7, because it's a negative and a negative, and this inequality has to flip. Now, we've done the math part. Ideally, that's the hard part. So we're going to go up to 7. I always start with an open circle, because if I haven't said it before, and you'll hear me say it 100 times, I have the attention span of a squirrel. So I have to stop myself and make sure I think things through. As you've seen in some of my videos, I make mistakes when I get going, just like every other human, especially when I don't have any students to hold me accountable. So open circle is what I've got right there. I'm going to go check this inequality. There is not an equal to, so open circle is perfect. X is greater than 7. Now, if it is inactive, what I would do personally, if this is where you get your hang-ups, 0 is on this side, and I like 0 because I think it's pretty easy. If I have no money in my pocket, I definitely know what that means. 0 is over here on the left, like if we extended our number line. So is 0 greater than 7? Is having no money better than having $7? Absolutely not, right? So we're not going to color towards 0. So we're going to color in the other direction. I am going to pause and give you the opportunity to try number 2 in front of you. And then we'll get back together. And I'm changing my B again to an X because, again, they look funny. So you try this guy, and we'll come back and reconvene in probably, I'll give you like 2 minutes. All right, this is negative 12x. I'm going to divide by negative 12, divide by negative 12, negative 12, negative 12, negative 12, negative, negative, negative. Ding, ding, ding. That means we have to flip our sign, right? So now I'm going to have x. 72 divided by a negative 12 is going to give me a negative 6, which you guys nailed it. And we're going to flip our sign. Now, x is greater than or equal to negative 6. Or negative 6 is less than or equal to x, depending on which way, and in this case, b. Depending on which way you want to read it is fine. We're going to go up to our negative 6. Is this going to be an open circle or a closed circle? Yes. Because they're that equal to, right? That brick. You can stand on a brick fence. You cannot stand on a chain link fence. I mean, you could, but it would be really hard and not worth it. So solid circle. Now, these are the ones that somewhere in middle school, and maybe not all of your teachers, and if they didn't, just be grateful. They said color in the direction of the arrow. That's perfect if it's in this format. It's a hot mess if it's in this format. So I would try. I very rarely tell you to unlearn anything. If that was the way you were taught, chunk it. Not good. Not going to work. So we're going to try this, all right? Negative 6, so we're going to test it. And like I said, I always go towards 0. In this case, 0 is going to be over here. Is negative 6 less than or equal to 0? Right. So then we're going to color towards 0 this time. And again, some of you read this and understand that that is x is greater than, which is to the right. Greater than is always to the right, right? Perfect, perfect. I am going to skip number 4 probably because that is exactly like what we just did. Do we want to do one more? All right. So compound. Or is out and is in. Okay. So or means it's going to be going in 2 different directions. So we are going to solve both inequalities when it's written like this. These, most of you have no problem with. So we're not getting anything crazy here with none of the distributive property or any of those crazy things because that hopefully is another problem. We're just, if it is a problem. So we have our stinky kid. We're going to move our 9 by subtracting because that is the opposite of a positive 9. So opposite of addition. So I get that to a 0. And I end up with 2p is less than a negative 18. What am I going to divide by? Positive 2, positive 2, positive 2. So that means we're going to keep on rocking and rolling and everything is perfect. So p is going to be less than a negative 9. So we're going to go to our negative 9, which it looks like these are counting by 2s. So it's going to be right here. And we're going to do an open circle. Do we want to leave it open or should we color it in? Leave it open. Good. All right. So our second one. Box in our stinky kid. We're going to add 7 because that's how this becomes a 0. If I owe you $7 and I pay you 7, then we're in the good. 10p is greater than or equal to 20. What are we going to divide by? Yep, because that is the inverse of 10 times p, because that's what 10p is. And p is greater than or equal to 2. So we're going to go to our positive 2. Are we going to shade that in or leave it open? Shade it in because there's that equal to. Perfect. Now, you can test point. Again, some of this you're gonna already understand. Is 0 less than -9? No. Having no money is not a worse situation than owing someone $9. Owing someone is bad, bad. Way worse than having 0. So we're not going to color towards 0. We're going to color the other way. It also says P is less than -9, and less than is always to the left. P is greater than or equal to 2. So is 0 greater than or equal to 2? No, there's no way that $0 in your pocket is better than having $2 in your pocket. So we're not going to shade towards 0. We're going to shade the other direction. This is the way all so compound inequalities are going to look. It's going to be like two wild squiggle arms, two arms going in two different directions. Okay, so it's going to be the arms of a person, not the body. I'm going to skip this one because I feel like we're okay. And those of you not speaking up, not real sure why we're doing that, but I'm going to just assume we know what's happening. So number 7 is an and I like this one because fractions are what always freaks you guys out. So a over 2 is greater than or equal to 0. A plus 4 is less than 8. We're going to go with the easiest one first. We're going to subtract 4 from both sides, just like we were doing on the other ones. So that's A is less than a positive 4, because if I have $8 and I lose 4, I have 4 in my pocket. We're going to go up to positive 4. It's going to remain an open circle because there is no equal to, and it's A is less than. If we want to check it, is 0 less than 4? Yeah, having no money is not as good as having a positive. So we're going to color towards 0. I'm not going to go all the way yet, but it is going to be to the left. This is A divided by 2. How do we undo that 2 in the denominator? Beautiful. Multiply both sides by 2. These are gone. A is greater than or equal to 0 times 2 is going to be 0. Anything times 0 is 0. So we're going to put an open circle on 0. Will we leave it open or color it in? Yep, we're going to color it in because of that equal marks here. And then we're going to test it. So since we're at 0, we can use the negative numbers are typically not our best friend. So I'm going to choose 2. Is 2 greater than or equal to 0? Yes. So you're going to color towards 2, which is going to be this way. And you're going to color, and you can keep going in both directions. Like, so this one was all the way to the left if it was a single inequality. This one was all the way to the right if it was a single inequality. But because it is a compound, the only answers that are going to make this true are in the red. And this would count as well because it is a solid circle. Would the answer 4 meet the need for both of these inequalities? So is 4 a solution? Is 4 less than 4? Is 4 less than or equal? I'm sorry, is 4 greater than or equal to 0? Yes. But because it's a compound, so you could say yes to the first, no to the second, which means it's a no for the group. So as soon as it's an and or an or, it has to be sort of a, when they say, is this a solution? I guess it can't be for or is never going to have a common solution. And for any and compound inequality, it has to meet both. So 4 is just a parameter. So it theoretically stops at like 3.9999999999999. Okay. So James, what I'm asking is they'll give you inequalities and they'll ask you if the number is a solution. Okay. In this case, 4 is only a solution to the first one. But because this says and, it has to work for both. It doesn't work for the second. Had this said or, you could say, like Zoe said, yes to the first one, which is not an or because it overlaps in the middle. But if it's an and, the is it a solution to this inequality has to work for both. If it's an or, it only has to work for one. Desmos can do this work for you, especially if it's calculator active. So we'll go all the way back to some of the easy ones first, just so you can see it. Remember, this is on a flat number line, but Desmos, the reason you're going to use the graphing calculator instead of any of the other calculators, because I believe in 8th grade you may have used the scientific and you're more comfortable with it. scratch it, get out of it. The one that you're going to have access to on your EOC will be graphing. So you want to use this and manipulate and understand the answers you're getting from here, because that's what you're going to have on test day, even if you're used to the other one. Now, this is a mess for most of us. If you click the wrench up here in the right-hand corner, I hate the minor grids. I think they confuse me. This is counting by twos naturally. If you go to step and put 1, step and put 1, and I'm probably going to repeat this 100 times over so everybody hears it and doesn't forget. Now this is going to look like your standard graph paper or your standard number line. So just ignore the vertical number line. Just pay attention to the X. So our first equation that we had that we worked on was 6, and you do need to use X. If you use a different number, a different letter, it doesn't always work to your favor. Now, our first equation we were working on was 5 times negative 6b plus 2 in parentheses is less than a negative 200. I did not solve this. I typed this in exactly the way they gave it to us. Now, hear me out. On our daily work, our daily practice, do not use this as your final answer, because you will get smoked. And I don't mean maybe not in this class, maybe not on your EOC, but generally you need to know how to solve equations fluidly. And I'm not saying because this is a style equation you're going to see, I'm saying they're going to get bigger and uglier and crazier. So you want to practice right now. Test day, quiz day on the calculator active portion. By all means, don't chance getting it wrong, because that's where it matters. Like, that means you got to show what you know. And using the calculator or your resources available, in my opinion, is hugely important. Okay. So this is the equation that we worked in number 1. When we solved it, we had X is greater than or equal to, is greater than 7. We're sitting at 7. That's your solution. This is a dashed line. That's the equivalent of an open circle. Whereas if I change this to a less than or equal to, solid line, the equivalent of a solid circle. Is everybody, are you okay? Can you see this? All right. Is it big enough? All right, beautiful. So this is our first one. That means I'm shading to the right. So those of you who are saying, like, I don't know, I get it confused on the shading part. Ta-da. Solid circle at 7 if this happened to be the right inequality, and shade to the right, which is exactly what we did, but we didn't have this inequality. We had that inequality. And again, that dash line is just an open circle. It frustrates me, and I think it's also highly entertaining, the fact that you have a resource so good that you don't have to be able to do much of anything. Because the answer is right here. That's your answer to this inequality is 7. And it is all numbers greater than. So if you had to write the answer, it would be B is greater than 7. All numbers bigger. If you want to only check your answer when you're done. And again, I'm not showing this for you to cheat. I'm showing this so you don't get frustrated. You're at home and I'm not there with you. This is how you can check it before you go firing off your answer in Delta and missing, or IXLs and missing a ton of them and getting frustrated. Your final answer is X is greater than 7. It matches. I can click off the blue and I see the red. I can click on the blue and now I see they're in the exact same spot, which means I did it right. Nailed it. For your compounds as well. So that's going to be our number 5 we just did on our paper was 9 plus 2. I'm going to use X is less than negative 9. That's our first one. And our answer was it's less than negative 9. I moved my screen around, negative 9. If you move your screen around and you can't find things, hopefully that didn't make you nauseous, there's a house right here. It'll give you your given screen. You haven't, Tasmin. You will. I'm just giving you options always. From day 1 to day end, I can throw anything I want at you. In all fairness, to prepare you for the EOC. I am just speaking in general terms that you can apply this wherever you want to apply it. Yep. It's early. We still have until Wednesday. So this was our first in our compound, and then it said or, and the other was 10x minus 7 is greater than or equal to. Your greater than or equal to's are going to be down here in your keyboard. I did that kind of fast a minute ago. So these are your other inequalities. If you should use this in another class or for other homework, this is where you're going to square things. This is where you're going to have exponential functions. We haven't gotten there. You have not done them yet. But the sooner you realize where to find them when we start, you don't have to beat your head against a wall. Functions, if you can't find something, this is math 2, your trig ratios, mean, median, mode, minimum, max, quartile, quantiles. All this is statistic stuff. Mean, median, min, and max are things that we definitely used. Shuffle your list, change all of that's here. Histogram, dot plot, box plot. It's a button away if you can put your data in. Distributions, this one I do not believe we actually use at all. Same here, don't use. Calculus, thank goodness you're not there yet. Geometry, not really going to be a big deal. Midpoint might be helpful along the way as the semester goes forward. Greatest common denominator, least common multiple. I haven't played with those a lot, but play with them. If it gets you the right answer, great. Rock and roll. Like I said, this Desmos, they say that they give you a limited version on your EOC. I have yet to figure out what they take out of it. So rock it, get after it. Find the things that are going to help you. And again, I'm speaking from today all the way until the end of the world, end of math. So this guy, it was at greater than or equal to, and then it said 13. So again, this is a coordinate plane. We're only focused on our x-axis. It was a solid circle. We did color to the right. This was an open circle at -9, and we did color to the left. So we know we did it right. Perfect. Again, if you want to check your math, we had x is less than -9. Whoops, that's not less than, that's a comma. Less than -9. It graphed on top of our green, which that one you can even sort of see that it graphed on top of the green. So we know we did our math right.